welcome. We're so excited to have you all here with us. I'll tell you a little bit about our program. So during Women's History Month, WLRC hosts dialogues with artists, activists, and educators to explore socially engaged, community-based work and consider questions like, how do women and gender non-conforming artists, who are Black, Indigenous, and people of color, decide to use their creative skills to bolster social justice movements? How does their work engage racial and economic justice to imagine new possibilities with and for their local communities and beyond? And how do they bring this work into the academy and vice versa? So we're so excited to host today's dialogue with Ashley Dequilla, Queen Hibbler, and Onyx. Can I read a little snippet of each of your bios? I know I'm talking too much. All right. So Ashley Dequilla is an artist, filmmaker, born to Filipino immigrants who uses painting, performance, moving image, installation, and ritual in her practice. Ashley graduated from the College of William and Mary with a Bachelor of Fine Arts in Studio Art and Art History, and holds a post-baccalaureate certificate in Fine Arts from the Maryland Institute College of Art. Queen Hibbler is an artist from out west Chicago. Queen obtained her Bachelor of Art in Graphic Design and Printmaking at Western Illinois University in December 2016. As a proud Black woman and artist, her work is representative of the beauty of what it means to be Black, as well as a woman. Queen is currently experimenting with different concepts and mediums to illustrate her aesthetic on a larger scale. Onyx is a Black trans, genderless, pro-dom artist. Onyx loves expressing and discovering new things about themselves, both in their professional dom work as well as in their artwork. They are currently doing 3 different series that focus on genitalia. As a genderless artist, Onyx thinks depicting genitalia in their complex forms is very important in showing that gender and genitals are not and do not have to be interconnected. Queen is going to serve as our discussion facilitator today, so I would like to hand it off now to you, Queen. Thank you so much. All right.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Hi, I'm doing today. This is my first time actually facilitating a actual, I feel like this is a podcast. In my mind, it's giving podcast, so that's what I'm gonna go off of. So I would like to start off with asking if y'all will be open to talking about your journeys as artists and activists, and how did you get started? How did you know that this is what you wanted to do? What do y'all like to go first?
If I shall. Hi, I'm Prince Onyx. I got started very young. I've always done community work, activism. So I guess that's where it started. It just being a Black person, it's challenging, it's difficult in the society that we are in. It's not difficult to be in my body. It's wonderful to be in my body, but in the society that we are in, it has some hardships. With that, being younger and being taught different things going on in the world, it was scary and challenging, and I wanted to make a difference. Grade school, high school, community work, activism, and then, of course, in my adult life, marches, rallies, protests, again, community work at any event was really important to me, and it did make a difference in my life and the people around me. I started intertwining my dom work, my art, and activism together because it made sense. Being a sex worker, there's a lot of hardships in that. There's a lot of discrimination. Being a Black trans person, there's a lot of hardships, a lot of discrimination in that. Being queer as well, the same thing goes for that. And it was important that I did art that represented myself and also other Black, queer, trans people, as they could see that and basically have a reflection in my art of themselves.
May I ask what organizations that you work with before?
I'm gonna say I do not know. I do not. A lot of organizations were through my schools, high school. I'm not gonna shout out my high school because they were but during Eastern, when I was at Eastern, we did a lot of community work. But yeah, it was amazing work that we did, reaching out to communities that look like ourselves. Yeah, it was really important.
Thank you for sharing that. All power to all people.
Thank you.
Ashley?
So I started really getting involved the summer of 2018 in Washington, D.C. during the Trump administration. It was a really bad time. There was a lot of uncertainty and I just couldn't be complacent with what was going on. So I showed up for a lot of protests, rallies, Black Lives Matter events, supporting the local Black Lives Matter organization in DC. But it came down to wanting to do something about my own experiences, having been sexually assaulted and been in domestic violence relationships too. I just couldn't be complacent. And I also started to intertwine that like with my artistry, community organizing, and that kind of stuff too. I worked with the Asian Pacific Islander Domestic Violence Resource Project for a bit, and I also started working with like Philippine human rights. I just, now like where I'm at, I just think like we can't be complacent with the status quo whatsoever. So just in any way you can get involved or address something that is going on that you're not cool with, that's like the motivation.
Wait, before I move on, I'm gonna pause you for 1 second. I'm looking at the cameras. So for folks who just recently joined us, we're experimenting with some new tech that we got in our room. So I wanna ask if you can part ways in the middle so that we can get a clear view of our 3 speakers in the room. Really appreciate you all. Doing this while we figure this out.
Thank you.
I think that should work. Yes. Okay, please carry on. Thanks, y'all. I appreciate you so much.
I'm a professional now.
How did I hear yourself?
Right, exactly. I was kicking my feet up to make sure it was professional.
Speakers, as a reminder, please speak as loudly and clearly as you can. I know it's a big ask.
Thank you, Ashley. I appreciate that.
Of course.
Okay, so I guess it's my turn now. So I would like to say, like, in 2020 was when I was like, yeah, this like activism shit. Oops, sorry. This activism thing is really important. I feel like during that period of time, we were all like forced to be on lockdown, and we were literally getting like mace and pepper sprayed like every day during the summer. I was just like, you know, again, like what Ashley said, can't be complacent. So it was one of those things where I was trying to do just like a protest support. So I would just go out and I had my big cooler with sandwiches and snacks and hand sanitizer and, you know, just important essentials that people were needing, being on the front lines. So I just feel like that's also important. Of course, being on the front lines is extremely important, but also being able to support those folks that are on the front lines, not just necessarily with just your presence, but also like with resources, care. And the end of 2020 was when I joined SWAP Chicago, which is the Sex Workers Outreach Project. We are the Chicago chapter, and we provide different services for sex workers, such as housing, mutual aid. We do outreach twice a week. We're working on expanding our housing initiative right now. And we're also working with a couple of different aldermen and advocacy groups discussing decriminalization in Chicago specifically. And being a part of that organization and also just doing sex work on my own has just allowed me to like be more vulnerable in the sense where allowing other people in my community to help me, because it's always very easy when you're a community worker to be so focused on the community that you serve that you kind of like lose sight of taking care of self. So I really think it's good that I've been in a community that's been extremely supportive and also very adamant about accountability. And I feel that that's also super important, like being an artist. And even though being, like Onyx said, being Black, queer, non-gender, non-conforming, trans, anything that's not cis, white, heterosexual, Protestant, like if you're not under that umbrella, you're going to have a bad time. So it's just like, I just feel like having that note in my mind is what is continuing to drive me in my artwork. Because it started to get, I've always been serious about my artwork. Once I was in undergrad at Western, that was when I was like, okay, this is going to be my career. This is what I'm going to do. I'm not really sure where I'm at right now, but I'm figuring it out. So now later on in my professional art career, I feel like I'm getting more of an idea and more of like a solidified stance in crossing my work and my activist work together, because it just makes sense. Because it also just, to me, like when you have multiple like arms going from your web, it just makes sense to be able to, the common denominator in the web is yourself. So it's a matter of just being able to like balance all these different arms to be able to make it all cohesive for not just you, but like the communities that you serve. Yeah. Okay, so who are your people? Where do we find community at? How do you find community?
I'd say this room right here, like this is a really awesome moment. I'm seeing a lot of people I haven't met yet, and it's really wonderful to be present together and share these experiences. Starting here.
Yeah, exactly. I agree.
I think when I came to Chicago, from the South Suburbs, and when I came to Chicago, I found a lot of community in going to different types of events, anything that sparked my interest, hobby, an identity that I have. I found that and I reached out to people, like you were saying, being vulnerable in your community, asking for help, asking for community in of itself was super important to me. My people are Black, trans, queer people, sex workers. You know, that's my people first and foremost. That's who I look to. That's a literal reflection of myself, and that's what I hope to keep very close to my heart.
I always tell people that like community in Chicago, especially in the communities that we are in, I feel like they all overlap. And there's really important for all of us to like note the overlapping of all of our different communities, because they're important to each other, which means that as a community, I feel like when you're operating as a community, everyone's business is also your business. Because if we're going to take out capitalism, ideally, mutual aid is like the number one thing against capitalism. And it's like, you can't really do mutual aid without community, and you can't have a solid community without vulnerability, and you can't have vulnerability without communication and being open and being receptive. So I feel like, you know, going to these different types of events, whether it be like artist events, socials, fashion shows, like clothing swaps, and things like that, you meet so many different types of people. So many different types of people that work in different industries, whether they even be like healthcare, education. There's so many people that you know that are sex workers that you probably, your most favorite person you know is probably a sex worker or has done sex work before. And I feel like also having that in the back of your mind just kind of like changes the way that you have your compassionate lens on. Because it's just like, I feel like because we live in such an individualistic and capitalistic society, it's very easy to get lost in just like trying to look out for self, because of course you can't have a community without looking out for yourself, but at the end of the day, I still feel like it's important to keep community in mind. Okay, this is one of my favorite questions. Who is your audience? And I feel like as artists that are in marginalized communities, we get asked this a lot because we're in a space where we're forced to like conform to whiteness or white supremacy or the lens of like academia or whatever is deemed normal. Do you guys feel like it's important to consider the audience? Do you guys just like, can I curse? I'm sorry. I'm trying like really hard like not to be that guy.
Just
like,
do it loudly and clearly.
All right, cool. Because that's the shit I be talking about. Because I just feel like it's very easy to just be forced to always consider the audience. And I feel like when we're asked that question, it's like, are you willing to explain this to white people? Are you willing to break it down enough so people who aren't or don't feel they have accessibility to this language or like to this community, so they feel like they can have some sort of like what am I trying to say? Not autonomy, but like some sort of like say or input because they feel like they have access to our work. But it's just like, you know, it's like an insecure when they're like, hey, Issa, what's on fleek? Like, don't ask me what the, you know what I'm saying? Like what do you guys think about that? Like, I hate that. You be feeling exactly. I don't know what that means. Couldn't even tell you. Like,
I'm gonna get keep it.
Right. Thank you.
I'm sorry. Like you can't.
Right.
Like no. Like my audience is definitely, like I said, Black, queer, trans people first and foremost. I want them to be able to look at my artwork and see themselves, feel the emotion that I put into my art, understand what the message is, or interpret it however they want to. That is what art is. For the white gays, not gay, I do not care. I am not going to conform. I am not going to alter what I make, what I create to like coddle them in a way of like understanding where I'm coming from. That is not for you. If you understand it, you understand it in a way, in a sense, okay? And there's other things that, okay, you may be queer, you may be trans, but you're not Black. Right. You may be Black, but you are cis. So you like, there's other interconnecting things that happen there. And that is up to the audience, but also at the same time, like I said, that is my audience. That is my audience. And that's who I make my art for. I make my art for myself. People who look like me, go through the same things as me. And yeah, I think when it comes to like doing grants and things like that, I see a lot of grants for specific things, and I try to get around that with saying, well, here's what I have. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. More than half the time they don't, but that's fine. I'm not going to, I'm going to get a grant that someone likes what I do, how I do it, who I do it for, and that's most important for me. Yeah.
I wanted to say that the program that we're in right now, Queen, I consider the white gays. So just like what Onyx was saying, like the work that we make is for ourselves first and foremost, and then it's for the people who also like feel similar to what we've experienced as well. Like my first experience at the MFA program here at UIC, I made an art piece. It was like a new media performance piece about how I almost died giving birth to my child. And it was eaten apart during the crit and not treated with respect at all. It was like a misogyny train in the room. And unfortunately, that was like my very first experience. So it's tainted a lot of like how I see my own work functioning amongst my cohort, which shouldn't be the case. Like we should all have respect and be given the same opportunity as soon as we come in, but that's not the society we're in, even in as progressive of a space as UIC's MFA program is too.
I agree. because Ashley and I are both in the same cohort for the MFA program here, and we have a lot of like conversations and studio visits amongst ourselves about like our own work, what our fellows are working on, and I know that we've all had conversations amongst ourselves as a group where we just feel like sometimes it's just like talking to a wall when you're trying to explain your work. And because we're in this space, it's like we have this conversation a lot too. We're talking about like it's a privilege for us to be in this space, although this space is not created for us. So it's like keeping that in mind, it's just like I don't care at this point, because it's just like, y'all let me in the program, big mistake. So with that being said, it's like, all right, well, I'm going to do what I want to do, because then you got to bring it down to like the whole like diversity tactics, affirmative action, if you will. So it's like, y'all are getting a little tax break off of me being here. So be grateful that I'm here, number one. And then two, be grateful that I'm giving y'all access to what I have going on in here. Because we don't have to break down anything.
Absolutely.
And then I just feel like sometimes it can get very, like that entitlement kind of gets in the way, because people are thinking like, oh, like, well, this is somebody of this caliber in this higher education atmosphere. And it's just like, at the end of the day, like, they're just people, just like the rest of us. And yeah, like, we're in this program and we have the privilege to be in this program, which is great, because not a lot of people can have the opportunity. But at the end of the day, it's just like, we're still being in here, although we chose to be here, we're still being consumed. So it's just like, with having that in mind, we should have the control and the autonomy to have our own narrative and say like, this is what I'm allowing you to consume, and this is all you're gonna get. And don't ask me no questions about it.
Taking up space unapologetically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So moving on, because I think we can talk about that all day long.
Yeah.
So how do you feel you're able to connect your creative life, your activist life, work life? Because sometimes not all of those different roads lead to the same thing. Because I know a lot of people are like, yeah, dude, you know, I dime at night, sell pizza during the day, sell weed on the weekend, like, you know what I'm saying? Again, unfortunately, we live in a society, so like we have to like do multiple things to make money to survive, which sucks. I'm definitely looking forward to when the economy officially collapses. Stocks aren't looking good right now, so we're gonna have to be back to like bartering for goods and services. Looking forward to that.
Absolutely.
So how do you feel like you guys are able to intertwine all of your different lives, especially if you're involved in academia? And do you feel that there is a way that your work's being received by your colleagues, your students, if you're teaching? If you feel that like your work's being perceived a certain way when you're like submitting work, submitting applications, what are your guys' thoughts?
Yeah, like I was saying, grants, it's difficult, and because we live in a capitalistic society, some grants you have to not only apply, put the artwork in, but money. And so money is something that sometimes I do not have. So in order to get the grant to give me money so that I have the space to have studio time, materials, it's an ever-ending circle. Because I don't have time, because I'm working, I can't, put a lot of work into my art. And then it's like, oh, okay, if I get the grant, then I will have money to take off time off of work to be able to create more, have that space, that studio time. And so it's a never ending cycle. And so it's very difficult when you're not giving a lot of opportunities. And I have been applying, and I will continue to apply. And I really do have hope for that. I did go to school for art, and I dropped out. School was just not for me, but I appreciated what I learned from school and all the programs that I was in. It was very, very educational, informative. It gave me a lot of resources, a lot of time, freedom. And that's what a lot of the time that I don't have. I say I'm like, the whole starving artist thing.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, I'm not starving. Fortunately, I'm not starving. I like food.
Yeah.
So I'd rather eat than be doing my art. But if I was given that opportunity, then of course I would be doing art and eating.
Right.
I feel like being in this program right now is kind of a weird bubble, disruption from the real world that I was living in before I started this program, but things changed a lot because of the pandemic and because I had my baby. But I just love being here and like all of the opportunities I've had. But I'm gonna be leaving this program like in a month from now. So I'm facing that same like juggling act, I think. It's just like one day at a time and like hustling to stay alive.
Yeah.
Survive, yeah.
Pretty much. And it shouldn't be like that. And I feel like the whole starving artist narrative really just needs to like die. Because nobody wants to be a starving artist. Nobody wants to get accolades when they're already deceased. Like,
We shouldn't perpetuate that.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Subsidized artists.
Absolutely.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And I actually saw this tweet the other day where it was talking about how there's this new program. I want to say, I know it's in Europe, but I can't remember what country it's in. But they're basically doing like a residency like type of program where it's like, oh yeah, like we have like 40 people that applied to this thing, and now we're giving them funds. They're getting like $300, $400 like a week, and they're basically able to just like make work. And someone was just like, wow, the US really needs to keep implementing this. And then someone retweeted and it was like, we were literally doing this in the 80s when people were getting paid. Like Larry David did his whole wrote Seinfeld on his residency. Like it was literally like him and like 3 other artists in subsidized housing where they had X amount of time to just like work.
To do it.
Exactly. And everyone's like, oh my God, this is a great and it's like, this isn't a foreign thing. Like America is just cheap as hell. Like, and it's not, and people, a lot of these programs want to pick and choose who they want to give their money to. They want to pick and choose the percentage of marginalized folks they allow into their programs because they're trying to meet this quota or whatever the hell they're trying to do. And it's sometimes it just feels like fake.
Yeah.
Because everyone is just like, oh, we're so progressive and like we totally align with these values. And it's like you have 2 Black people on your staff. There's 37 of you guys. Like, please be for real. Like, are you teaching something? Onyx, are you teaching? Have you taught anything before in the past? Do you have interest in teaching?
Funny enough, in my dom work.
Not just like an
in my dom work, I've had mentored 2 people, and then I have about 11 people come to me wanting me to teach them the basics of dom work and sex work, and so I am coming up with a curriculum, and y'all will see that soon. I don't want to say no more about it, but
okay,
it's in the works, and I'm really excited about that. I'm really excited that people come to me and want that opportunity for me to teach them. Yeah, absolutely, and I appreciate that a lot. I've been doing sex work for 6 years, and I was kind of having imposter syndrome after mentoring the second person. I was like, no one wants to hear from me. And then I was just like, wait a second. Okay, this is the 11th person to come to me. Okay, I'm going to do a class.
Yeah.
So I am extremely honored by that. And I'm going to have fun with that. So.
You can count that as 12.
Okay.
You're interested in
13.
Okay. We got a full class already. There we go.
Ashley, would you like
right now I teach here at UIC, and I'm going to be teaching in the fall as an adjunct in oil painting too. So maybe we can swap our skills.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's bartering.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
The best way to do it.
I'm going to be teaching drawing in the fall.
That's awesome.
So, and I want to do more figure drawing. So I will be.
Well, I was a model. So.
Exactly.
Okay, there we go.
All interested.
You know?
Exactly. Do you feel that your experience here at UIC teaching has been positive, or do you feel like
it's positive overall? It's an opportunity that many people don't have. I think for sure.
Do you feel like you had more autonomy over like your lesson plan and things like that?
Yeah.
Than you were expecting?
Yeah, I'm not getting like a helicopter.
That's good.
Kind of thing.
I'm also asking like for.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think that's good. So I feel like we touched on this a little bit earlier, but I did want to circle back about how our artwork is being embraced by the public. Do you feel like you've noticed a certain demographic? Well, I feel like that's like obviously of course it's gonna be like a certain demographic of people, but do you feel that that is like conducive with what you're wanting? The amount of like the percentage of people that are engaging with your work versus what you would like or imagine?
I'm calculating what you're trying to say.
So like in your mind, right? And you're just like, okay, cool. These are the people that I'm trying to reach. Like for example, you're like, my audience is Black, queer, trans, non-conforming folks. Yeah. Do you feel like there is a large percentage of that community that that is like engaging with your work in comparison to what you're imagining in your head versus reality?
So yeah, okay. So there's a good amount, almost majority, but I see that a lot of, and also sex workers is involved in that. So I see a lot of non-workers, white trans gays, who also love my work, which I'm appreciative of. But yeah, like I said, my main focus is people who look like me. And so I envision that only people that look like me would really want to see my art. And I wasn't like conceptualizing like other people being like, oh no, I really just do enjoy this. Like the sex worker exhibits you curate, amazing turnouts. I thank you again for that. I love that. I love them so much. But the recent one, I had a lot of white gays come to me and have discussions about it, and I was like, oh, I didn't think you would like it. Okay. And like, a lot of like cis people, and a lot of cis people as well. And so then
like I'm not making this for you.
Right, exactly.
Right, yeah.
And so I was like explaining further the series, and not only that piece, but the series as well. And they were like, oh, and so that was an important conversation and discussion to have, because they're just looking at, there's genitalia on the wall. And I'm like, no, there's more than that.
Right, exactly.
There's way more than that. And so then I was happy to have that discussion with them. And so it did open, it seemed like it opened their minds up to understanding trans people a little bit more, being cis people. And I did enjoy that. I did.
Also, I'm glad that you had that experience.
Yes.
I actually curated the Sex Workers' Rights Day exhibition for SWAP Chicago, second year in a row. I curated it last year. Last year was the first year that we had it in person since lockdown. And I had like no expectations. I was just like, yeah, man, like people are still, COVID's still around. So it's just like, I wasn't really expecting a lot of people. Not like I wasn't expecting anybody to come, but it's just like with all of our like COVID parameters and just like how easy it is, because people are in COVID like the whole. So it's just like, I wasn't really in it, but we had a super huge turnout. Everyone was like super stoked. Onyx submitted last year and they submitted again this year. So I curated the show again this year, and it's actually still on display till the end of this week. If you guys want to go see it, at Pilsen Arts Community House. And I had the submissions open for all current and former sex workers in the Chicagoland area. We had about 18 people that actually had work, including myself. And again, another great turnout. We had a lot of people come to the opening, a lot of people that I would not expect to be there. We did have a cop come, so that sucked. But We got him out of there. He didn't make a scene, which was nice because I was expecting. He looked like somebody's dad. Looked very out of place. Was asking people very inappropriate questions. One of those things where I'm pretty sure he works for like that division with the police that's like, oh, we're gonna find these people that are sex workers and help them.
And
like,
help them so
we're
much.
gonna help them.
One of them at a vigil, and I was like, oh,
yeah. It's one of those things where they think that they're like saving us from our terrible careers that we're forced to be in, and it's just like, I mean, that's not really what. I don't know. They think that they're like, oh yeah, we work with like anti-trafficking and like all that.
White
like,
savior complex.
Yeah, a lot of white savior complex. Yeah, exactly. We're just like, dude, get the fuck out. This is not what this thing is. Get out. Ashley, did you want to talk about how you feel about? Do you feel that the perception of your work with that?
Our stories are the ones that need to be heard the most,
Yes,
and there are some who will benefit from it like a lot more urgently than others. But first and foremost, it's people similar to my experiences too.
Yeah. Do you feel that, like I asked Onyx, do you feel that like what you've imagined in your mind with the people that you have interacting with your work, does that like align with reality?
Yes
like
and no. I'm really bad at the internet, so I don't know how to do social media. Like, my social media is private, and I don't have TikTok, so I don't know exactly like the numbers and the audience, like having that form.
Well, they sound look like in real life too.
In real life, I think the people who are supporting me support me, for sure. And that's the community.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's the most important too. So do you feel, and I feel like this is something that we're definitely all struggling with now because like with the internet, everything is like content. So do you feel like more pressure to like monetize your work or just like figure out how to make something into content?
Yeah, it's like you were saying, I'm not good with the internet. I'm not good with technology. Instagram has been the hardest thing to understand and learn. I will never even try to attempt with TikTok.
Instagram keeps changing the guidelines
Yeah,
every 45 minutes.
Absolutely. It's
Yeah,
it's terrible, but I think there absolutely is a pressure there with that, and to monetize, because everything needs to be content. Everything you need to post, and however often you post, and what types of posts. I do have the business account, so I see the numbers, and it is confusing because I'll be like, okay, this post made so much, but I have my chest out, and oh my God, it's through the roof. And I'm like, but look at my art.
Yeah.
It's nice too. I want the numbers to be up with that. So how can I do the numbers with that? And I'm trying to understand how people are thinking and consuming my art on the internet. And because it's the internet and anyone can see it, it's very difficult to understand that, not being good with technology and the internet. But yeah, there's definitely a pressure to monetize and pump out content constantly, and I absolutely hate it.
Yeah.
Absolutely hate it.
I feel the same because especially when you follow like a bunch of different like artist accounts and you just see like how much work they're posting, and it's just like, I mean, realistically, they're not painting or drawing that often, and if they are, it's probably because they have like a commercial job.
Absolutely.
But it's also just like, I have to keep reminding myself that like the internet is not real.
Right.
Because like I have a really good friend who's like, he's become like a super popular like cannabis influencer. Yeah. Oh, thank you. He's become like a super popular like cannabis influencer, and he's like, trying to give me advice on like TikTok and everything like that, which is great. But he was just like, the key is just like recording stuff and then just hoard the content and then just start posting back to back. Like these people don't know when you recorded this. He's like, I have so much stuff that I'm sitting on that I'm just now like rolling out because you have to be consistent. You have to play the algorithm game. And then it's just like, you have to play that. It's so much.
Yeah.
It's so much because you got to like figure out, okay, like what time can I post this?
What day?
What hashtags do I have to put? It's so much. And I keep telling people like, you want to have these like social media manager positions open, but you don't want to like compensate these people because people don't realize how much actually goes into it. I feel like people just get so like consumed and like, oh, this person got like 30,000 followers because they posted this video and it went viral. And it's like, well, if you scroll down their account, you'll see the 45 other videos that they've been posting that only got 300 views before they got to that 30,000.
Absolutely.
And I guess to just like wrap this up on a nicer note, on a happier note, how do you find healing and like joy in the work that we do? Because like sometimes it's like, as much as like being like a marginalized person like looks fun to some people, like the cultural appropriators, it's like, yo, it's actually like not a good time most of the time. We make it look good though.
Absolutely.
But it doesn't necessarily mean that it is good.
I think those conversations with people, talking about it, the art show, the first Sex Worker art show, I had a trans person come to me and just see what they saw in my art. And it literally almost brought me to tears because I was like, this is exactly what I came here for. This is exactly what I came here for. This is exactly why I submitted. This is exactly why I did the art. This is why I keep creating art. You have those moments, you have those conversations. They're so important. They're so touching. Like, I think about that like all the time when I'm creating art, just that one conversation. But like I said, there's other conversations that I've had, and it really does motivate me to keep me going. Creating the art in itself, when I'm zoning out and just it's me in the art, it's me in the paint, it's me in the whatever, I find joy in that and being able to say, oh, when I'm done with this, I'm gonna have another conversation, and it's gonna affect someone. It has before, and it will continue, and that brings me a lot of joy.
For me, it's finally committing to self-care. I've been able to find a lot of joy and healing through that. For the longest time, I had no boundaries around how much I was giving to my community and how much I was putting into my career, that I didn't know who I even was. I feel like I was looking for community to find myself and was getting further away from that. But earlier, like before this event started, Onyx and I had a little chat outside of this room, and like it seems really insignificant, but I'm gonna remember that for a long time, the topic we connected over. So just having like these like connections to having conversations and feeling seen and heard.
Yeah, definitely. I feel that. Self-care is so important, especially with the work that we do.
Yes.
Everyone take care of yourselves.
Yeah,
Yes.
Have
They don't want us to.
No.
Yeah.
They don't.
You can't be radical if you're tired. It's not a good radical.
What about you, Queen?
That is a good question. I feel like finding joy in this can be hard sometimes because I'm so overly critical of myself, even just like outside of being an artist, just like as a person. So I feel like just trying to find joy in like the small wins, like being able to have a conversation with somebody about like a piece that I made, or having like, like good studio visits and stuff like that. Stuff that is things that makes me feel good. Because then it's just, I mean, being validated, like external validation shouldn't be so important, but because of the society we live in, it is important for me. Like words of affirmation, definitely. So I think it's just like being gentle with myself, and then allowing myself to just like not make everything be perfect or not be perfect. I think finding the joy in that and finding the joy in the reception of that from others is like helping me feel more joy.
Absolutely.
Well, I think we got through all that. So, thank you guys.
Yeah, that was excellent. Thank you all so much. I think we'd love to open it up for questions from our guests here. I don't know, Payne, do you want to moderate that, or you want me to moderate that?
Oh, you know what? You can take it. Let's popcorn it.
That's fine. So thank you all for being here. Do you all have any questions for our wonderful speakers? Yes, please.
Hey,
Hey.
I love y'all.
Love you.
So much wisdom, so much deep, like really important things you just said. I'm with all of it so much. I want to just like sit here and just respond to all of that with love and like affirmation, but we're going to talk too much here. So I'll do it. I'll be talking. You know, there's been this really beautiful moment right now for a lot of sex workers, and also especially like a lot of like, you know, we have very different communities that we, you know, cross over and work with. I'm especially a lot of trans women working, you know, and dealing through a lot of intense amounts of trans misogyny and everything that, you know, there's been this breaking point for a lot of all sex workers. Like every trans girl I know has either been a sex worker, is a sex worker, or closely adjacent to it. It's popping off for a lot of us right now. And there's this question about, you know, this fear, and this is historically people in privileged statuses have not been great about doing this, but when they get their own, like the white gays, the white cis gays got their own, and then they like kind of like solidified themselves into the status quo, and they just left other Black and brown folk behind, and a lot of trans folk behind. And so there's this question about like, when things start popping off and ways that we're paying attention to these specific groups, you know, are people going to look back and remember the people that supported them and say, hey, you know, you come back up here with me, right? And there's always this fear of that, right? Whether, you know, again, whatever your privileged status is in your kind of quadrant of different intersecting identities, there's always kind of this fear of that. But what I'm seeing now is I think that we're getting in this moment of true like organizational passion, which really comes from a lot of us, of course. And then I'm hoping that that isn't a continuation historically. But there is always this fear of it. And I was just like kind of curious what your thoughts might be about this kind of observation I'm making, because I'm not the only one making this observation right now. I'm feeling these fears about, you know, people that might grew up rich and have access to different surgeries that are trans, or like white trans people getting hit up first, you know, or the passing trans women getting hit up first, or certain cis queer people getting hit up first, you know, et cetera, right? Are they going to look back and shit the rest of us that supported that and showed love as we brought up to, or not left together? So I don't know, do you have any feelings or thoughts about passion or your observations about this moment in time that we're all living? I hope that's a really big question.
You're right. That's historically what has happened. Black and brown people trans people are the, you know, on the front line.
Like Marsha.
Exactly. To be a stepping stone and end up being stepped on. Being left and forgotten. Not Marsha. But some are forgotten, and it is unfortunate. And so people who are in privilege understand your privilege, understand whether it be white, your class, or, you know, you're rich, whatever, you're cis, whatever, understand your privilege, and do not forget about us. Do not forget about other people. Like, reach out to people, ask them directly. Like a lot of people did in 2020 with Black Lives Matter movement of white guilt. And they were like, oh my gosh, okay, let me give you money. Let me do this for you.
I missed that.
And I missed it. Oh my God, I'm still poor. I still need resources. What happened? Y'all forgot about us.
Yeah.
Just completely said, okay, whatever.
You guys
and then you're fine now. No.
Who said that?
No. And so it's like, it's important to not do that. And you see, historically, it happens and happens. So it's to break that cycle. So anything you can do in your, like you're saying, in the intersection of identities, cut that shit out. Cut that shit out.
Yeah.
Stop it right there.
Know your positionality, but also,
And use your privilege. Use your privilege.
No,
Please use your privilege.
Especially because like now, like our generation, we're gonna be elders. Like
I'm already an elder on trans go
I'm not even like,
and what a blessing. And what a blessing.
It's a blessing to be an elder, but it's not even like, you know, elder like, oh, we're being like, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, like elders like being like queer in this community, because like I feel like us and Gen Z, like we're like the generations to like actually make some shit shake.
Absolutely.
And it's just like, but now like we're the elders of like the Gen Zers. Like they're like the baby gays trying to like, you know, do what we were just doing like 5-10 years ago. And then now it's like, you know, with all the different language that we have and the more like accessibility that people have to language because of the internet and identity, it's just like, you know, I feel like it's important that like these conversations are continuing to happen because it's just like, yo, like this, it's important that these conversations happen because we can't have these patterns continue to just like cycle over and over and over. And like, I have this conversation a lot too with one of my partners because it's just like, people always assume, because I am queer, I identify as queer, but I am still cis. So I try to use that privilege because I know that just because I have one marginalized identity, I still have privilege in another realm. So it's just like, and I feel like it can get lost in translation often because it's like, well, I'm Black, how can I have privilege?
Right.
And it's like, well, you have privilege in this little bubble. And it's a small bubble, but it's still there. And you have to be able to acknowledge that. And I feel like that's something that we need to continue to have the conversation about because our identities have become so much more layered because we have access to more language. So it's just like, yeah, cool. Like, yeah, I'm queer. Shit sucks sometimes, but it doesn't suck as much for me as it may suck for Onyx or for Ava or for someone else that is not like
different ways too.
Exactly. There's so many different levels of like oppression and so many different levels of ways that you can like extend your like olive branch to somebody else within your community.
I think the biggest thing is like, I think a lot of people, I'm sorry, I don't want to just make this a conversation between me and you or you all, but like monolithic thinking, I think
exactly
is going away. And I hope, and I know that we had to go through a lot of that in like quote unquote cancellation culture of really getting out a lot of pain and anger towards different groups that have hurt us, different ways, whether they're, you know, cis people or white people or able-bodied people, rich people, etc. Right? But I think we're getting to more of the age of accountability now, which is hard work, by the way. It's easier to cancel someone and throw someone out.
Right.
It's hard work to actually stick around and work through stuff.
The restorative justice part.
Get back to that.
Yes.
I'm going to shut up now. Thank you guys. I love you all. Actually, I don't know if you didn't say.
Like I think I do. It is like piggybacking off of what you said with accountability. It's just starting with compassion for yourself. I personally grew up in a really harsh, like colonized mentality household, and I internalized a lot of that, and it comes out in some of my own like biases. So I'm just checking them. It's really not comfortable. Even talking about it isn't comfortable, but it's real. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're good.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments? Yeah, please.
Okay, so you were talking about like the vulnerability you have with your art and within your communities and reaching out. But personally, I believe that a large part of being able to be vulnerable is having that safety to be vulnerable. So with your art, or honestly, life in general, do you find that you have that safety within these spaces to comfortably express your art?
I realized I did not have that safety when I got to the school very harshly, but I had to congratulate myself for taking the risk that I did and for putting the story out there. So it starts with yourself, like your community and your family and friends, they have the potential to betray you, but your work never will.
Yeah.
That's what I have to say about that. But I don't go off the assumption that they won't betray me. Like I have to so
Just a preface.
yeah, but there's
Going off of what you're saying with like safety in your community, during like 2020 or 2021, my phone just completely and during that time I was switching over from in-person sex work to digital sex work. And I was like, oh my God, literally, and then like all my other jobs, literally because we're in the, isolated. I was like, this is my only means of making money. And so I was like, I am so afraid to post a mutual aid. I've never done that before. I've just struggled my life and just been like, whatever, I'll tough it out through these situations. But I was like,
mentality,
literally. And I was like, I cannot do that because I'm dirt. I was like, I can't do this. And I asked, and I got it. And the way that people showed up for me, even people who did not know me in different states, all around, just Black, queer people, brown people, queers, gays, everybody showed up for me. And I absolutely love that. And then that opened me up to understand community more. And so then you'll see like me posting on my stories, other mutual aids for other people going through similar or different things, whatever they need. And it's like you were saying earlier, it's unfortunate that we have to do that, but that's how we dismantle capitalism. And they don't want us to do that. They do not want us to do that. And we are doing it. And it helps, and we show up for each other. I have never seen that before in that way. And so it was really important for me to see that for myself and feel safe in my community. I just love it. I love it. I appreciate it. And it makes me be even more proud that I'm a part of the community that I am in.
I agree, definitely. Because it's like I was saying earlier, when you're so deep in doing community work, it's very easy to just like neglect yourself. But then you get in a situation like that where you're like, I have no other choice but to ask for help. Because it's like you can't even help your community if you don't have resources for your own self. And I feel like I was in a similar situation too, because it was like, right when we were having activity. We were all on lockdown, forced to stay in the house. And I went back to my job after we were closed for like 3 months, and I ended up leaving because of like mental health leave, because I'm just like, barely anybody came back after lockdown. Working for a nonprofit sucks. They want you to do like 5 other people's jobs and only give you one person's salary. And it's just like, no, it's like not how that's supposed to work, like at all, actually. So I was in a space where I was just like, dude, I'm leaving. I can't do this. And then it was just like, waiting for unemployment, because when you leave a job, you have to appeal, because they're like, oh, well, they had a job for you. Why'd you leave? Like, what do you need unemployment for? And that's a whole other conversation in itself. So I was in a space where I was like, I have no income. So what am I supposed to do? Sit here on my hands? And at that point, I had to like have a really uncomfortable conversation with myself, because it's like I was so used to being able to take care of myself, not having to ask for help, being the person to provide for others. When that role changes, where you're like, oh, I'm the one that needs mutual aid now, like that pride definitely got in the way for me. So at that point, that was when I had to really sit with myself and was like, do I want to sit here and cry in silence alone on my floor with all these overdue bills? Or can I ask people and it's not even like asking in the sense where you're expecting for people to help you, but it's like being able to, and not saying expect in the sense of like, oh, I help them so they have to help me. But in the sense of being like, this is my community, and I know that in the past, they have expressed that they are willing to help. So what is the reason why I'm not asking for help now? Right. So I feel like that in that moment was when I was like, okay, this is like where you're just like, oh, I'm gonna kill you. Oh God, this is so scary. But then at that point when you did it, and then like people like showed up, and I was not expecting that many people to show up, at that point was when I was like, okay, I felt safe, but now like I really feel safe now. Thanks for that.
I think we have time for maybe one more question, comment, anything you'd like to share? Yeah, please.
So I thought it was interesting that like you brought up the one plays and like criticizing like academia and stuff. When you're still kind of like, oh shit, like I swore.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's really interesting that it's like so ingrained in you that you're like, that like I can't even swear, and it's like you can't even be like really yourself or express yourself fully because you're so like, oh, I can't say that, I say it like that, and like whatever. So it's interesting, but just like express yourself.
Yes, exactly. Which is why I was like, fuck that. Anyway,
Yeah.
Ramona was like, just enunciate. I'm like, bet. Awesome. Because I feel like that unlearning process is also like a healing journey in itself, because it's just like, we don't have to perform as long as we have been taught that we have to perform in order to be accepted or to be like digestible or to be, you know, just like more attainable to other people who don't understand us, whoever us is, or the other groups. So which is why now, like, I feel like when I apologize for doing something that is like just being myself, I'm always just like, fuck that. Anyway, no, I tweaked. Sorry, my bad. Because, you know, like, it's, you go, like, I'm almost 30, so it's just like I've been in academia for 18 plus years out of that 30 years. So it's just like when you're trying to unlearn all of that, I mean, it takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. But I'm definitely like now, especially when I got into this program, I told myself before I started, I was like, I'm not doing what I did in undergrad. And in undergrad was a lot of like, because I was in Macomb in the middle of like butt fuck nowhere with a bunch of like rednecks and Trump supporters and like Dixie flags on people's houses, I was just like, yeah, man, I gotta assimilate to survive. You know, I gotta code switch to survive. But now when I got here, I was like, I'm not doing this shit anymore. Like, because that's not who I am. I was doing that out of survival, not because of that is who I truly am. So now it's just like, I'm in a space now where I'm able to just be like 100%, 1,000% myself. So I'm not, I have to remind myself I don't have to apologize for doing things that are just like me being me. So.
I think that I dealt with that getting dressed for this event, because those who know me, I always have my chest out. I'm always half naked wherever I go, unless I'm doing my civilian job. then I'm clothed. But I was like, no, they know who they got. They saw my Instagram. They got, and so it was after I got over that, and I understand what you're saying. After I got over that, I was like, yeah, if you can see my nipples, you can see my nipples. If you can't, you can see them at another event. It's okay.
I just wanted to say, this code switching, the survival mechanisms, I've gone through it all very much myself. I'm a professor now, even though I'm trying to phase out of that to be more of a working artist. That's what I like, be in the chaos and the mess. But I love being an educator and a talker too. I don't know, maybe a Patreon or streaming service, who knows.
Yeah.
I want to say that I've been on another thing I did. SAC, UIC, a lot of them are scared shitless right now because of the student body and a lot of the new faculty members that are Black, trans, sex workers, coming from these areas that are actually have power. We're not little diversity pet hires anymore. We actually have agency and power. So that need to have to assimilate and is kind of dissipating. We're able to be true to who we really are. Of course, we do have to still do a little bit of code switching to kind of like work our way around it a little bit. But I'm just trying to say this just to say, hey, to everybody here, that this is kind of thing happening. But also precarious and strange.
Yes.
Anyway, just want to add that to all.
All right. Should we close out this portion of the program?
Yeah.
All join me in applauding our three speakers.